Alright guys, so now that we have a unique mesh with some nice subdivisions levels, we can easier pose our character, right? And in order to pose your character, I think the most important thing is to pay attention on the line of action, the actual the the curve of action that your character is doing. So as I said, I'm planning here uh, to make a pose that I remember on Achilles movie when Achilles was fighting against a giant and he put a knife into his neck. So as here we have just a simple body without any costumes or those things or even weapons. I will change this pose for not a knife in his hand, but an action that the character will be preparing to do a punch on his opponent. Uh, yeah. So the first thing I want I want to change here is, as I said, the line of action, and yeah, I'm gonna start how I would do this. I would start by making a curvature on this line, and as you can see, I start as in the first subdivision level, and you have to think actually on the movable masses of the body. Let me show you in the reference. Yeah, so here in PeerHev we had uh, that chart here that I talked about the movable masses, those presented by, I think it was, I don't remember exactly which was this book now, but yeah, doesn't matter. You have to think on the rotation of each movable masses. In this case, we have the head, the rib cage, and also the pelvis. So you have to think on the torsions you're gonna have on each axis for each movable mass, right? So you can think that the torso, the rib cage, it's gonna have its anchor point around maybe the belly button, and you're gonna have like this kind of rotation and also this kind of rotation. Oops, sorry. It's always good to place your anchor point in the middle part of the region that you are trying to position. And yeah, you have this, also this rotation, and also this torsion, this rotation along its y-axis. All right, so um, every pose is gonna have its curvature, as I was saying here. Let me show if we have something, maybe like this one. We have a kind of contraction here, and we have a pose more like in this curvature. Even it's an standing pose, right? This other here, it's more like if you are like this. So we have a force doing this, and this region we have a stretch, and this region we're gonna compress, right? So let me show you others. Like in this one, we would have kind of oh wait, kind of this curvature, you know, like force pushing the character to the front like this. So the pelvis would be more tilted to this axis, and the rib cage more tilted to this axis in this way. You have to also um, maybe exaggerate the gesture, and after the anatomy itself gonna correct everything, but the gesture should be exaggerated because the gesture is simply the attribute which will gives life to your character when it comes to posing. So every pose, even standing, we can see some kind of force that creates the rhythm on the character. Here I have not too many reference on posing, but it's more, I think, on my mind or of what I thought about this pose that I want to do, and I actually uh, tried to make this pose on my own home's mirror, on the mirror at my home, and I tried to study some curvatures, some rotations of each movable masses. And so this I gonna try to replicate this right now. So before I start to do the posing, I generally I do prefer to make this one is the Dynamesh version. It is the Zero Mesh version. Zero Mesh. I renamed it just by clicking here, but you know I have a shortcut set, Control plus R in my case, but you can set your own by yourself. Right, and let me see here. Before we start the pose, as I was saying, I always like to store a morph target. Morph target you can store here, and it's gonna leave us give us a backup for this actual situation of the mesh um, in this subdivision level. So I can, you know, make everything that I want, and then if I don't like it, I can just go over here and switch again to the backup that we created. And once I switch again, it gonna goes over the other. So it turns into between two poses, two actual states of the mesh, and yeah, that's it. Another thing that is important is when you make the mask, uh, I do recommend to not to always not change the mesh without doing a blur in the mask like this. I actually don't like this blur when you click with the control over the masked region, because it will keeps on some edge here. It will keeps like a crispy edge, and I would like more something more subtle on the transition. So I always like to do a blur mask, and also I set a hotkey for this button. So as you can see, there is Control plus A button for me, but you can set your own hotkey. Okay, and also one last thing that I like to do is to make the pose over a layer. I didn't said about it, but doing the pose into a layer is always good to correct some part if you want to go back again to the normal A pose and change anything on the anatomy itself, the proportion or anything, maybe into the head, you know, and after you can go again and apply the pose. So let's create a layer. In order to create a layer, you have to go over the last subdivision. This one I put it here in my custom interface, but you can always go over here and go over the the last subdivision you have, and then I'm gonna create two layers. One that is my default or without pose standing. I don't I don't care about the name, you know, just to you to understand that is the initial pose, the A pose, and then another one that I would call pose, right? So everything I do over this layer here, I can disable its visualization after, and it will go back over the default, right? So I'm gonna work on everything that I will do over the posing. I will do into this layer, the pose, right? All right, so let's start with the pose. Here I'm gonna go to the first subdivision as I already said, and I'm gonna grab a mask over the region of the beginning of rib cage. So I will center pivot the gizmo, like you can always click into this button here, and it will go to masked center. So once I click this, I will have the gizmo into the center of the mesh. And then I also click with the Alt button here in the reset orientation. Actually, in this time I'm with the mirror activated, the symmetry. So I will first deactivate this, and once again center the mirror. Okay, and then I'm gonna position my gizmo around the last rib, close to the belly button region. So after I'm gonna blur the mask a little bit, and then I will start to curve the model, just like this first, and also I'm gonna try to do a little bit of this distortion as well. Maybe correct the center a little bit. Maybe it was too much for the back. Can be more subtle like that. And also I'm gonna start to position the arms, or not. Let's rotate all the character like this. Let me see. Here I'm gonna start to position the head. Oh wait, I think we with the pose we deformed a lot the head, so let's go back. Yeah, we got some mask into the heads, so you can go over here and unmask this region and do once again the blur, and let's see if everything is right in place. Yeah, so that's perfectly. And I'm thinking here. Let me see. Yeah. I will also try some. No. I think it will be more like this kind of torsion. and then the head, make the mask, do some blur, and position the gizmo in the center. Make like this, and now let's raise up the arms. First I'm gonna place it more where I want to be, and yeah, let's start with the arms. So for the arms, let's see what I have here as topology. I think I will prefer to make this mask by doing this. Look, I will use the select lasso tool and I will click over the edge. So because here I think we have an edge loop. Let me see. No, maybe not. So I'm gonna start by here, I think. Yeah. So then I can isolate, remove from the visibility this region, because I want to take all the arms as a mask. So I'll first hide all these polys and create a polygroup for the arms. So I'm using the select lasso tool to isolate everything, removing the visualization of the region that I want. And then once I invert my selection, Control Shift, yeah, maybe this one here. Yeah, that's good. So you can do Control plus W and set a polygroup for this. And I will do the same for the other side, because the mask here, you know, not so good. Maybe if we do like this, and yeah, we can use this region, this masked region, go over the visibility and hide PT. So we're gonna show only this region, and then we can click over grow or use the hotkey Control Shift W in my case. I'm not sure if I change it or not. And then you can go in and grow the selection, and after you can remove anything that you don't want too much. Invert selection, add more region for the deltoids, just to get an easy way to get the mask, you know. And then you can click Control W to group this visible region. So now once we have two polygroups set for the arms, each arm, we can position the arms. So I actually gonna make kind of like this, I think, and click with the transpose mode over the arms, and then blur the mask. Center the pivot, the gizmo. I'm using a shortcut that I've set to this button. Go to a masked center. In my case, it's Control plus A. I set this hotkey, but you can set your own. I like to set already in the middle of the region that I'm using. And also, let me see, I think I need a little bit more blurriness. And then you have to go and positioning the arms just the way that you are looking for. Let's raise up this one as well first. So blur the mask, go to a masked center and position it around the region where you would have the anchor point for the arms, that it should be like on the head of your humerus. You had to always, when it comes to posing, you have to always think with the structure. The structure. You have to think about the skeleton and all the structure to be able to make the changes on the pose in coherent way with the skeleton and the anatomy, how the biomechanics work and everything. Yeah, so let's continue over the next lecture.